getting there. Give me a second. Okay. Hey, what's up? Let's see how far we get tonight. If anybody saw my short, you'll know that I said that it's been quite a week. Well, that week is evidently continuing into the next week because I woke up today and as you can hear, I wasn't doing so great. I've done cough medicine and everything else. We're gonna see how this hits. If we can only get an hour out of it and then I start feeling too raspy or whatever, then we're going to call it quits. But I definitely have whatever it was that my daughter had all last week. And lucky me, it took all of my vacation time that I had left for the year to take my daughter to the prompt care, so I just get to go to work. It's not like I haven't done this 1,000 times, like go to work sick. I mean, it's, you get it. You get it. We do it. I'll get over it for what it's worth. But we'll see. We'll see. I hope I have at least an hour in me here, kind of hang out. I'm not going to push myself or anything. If I start to feel like it's getting too much, then I will of course call it. But this is the new day. My wife is in Madrigal and she's going to be doing singing and stuff like that, and all of her practices are falling on the Wednesday that we were doing. So we're going to move this stream to Monday, and it's going to be a thing to start the week now, and we'll see how that hits. And hey, maybe if this turns out to work out well, we will just make this the regular thing anyway. We'll see how it hits. We'll see where we get. Okay, let's see. Oh, good. Got the chat going. Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on? Let's see here. Sorry to hear that, man. Here's to a speedy recovery. Get well soon. I hope so, man. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Yes, the dreaded start of autumn cold. You had one too. They're not fun, man. That's for sure. Depending on the extremity of what you end up with, too. I've done that. I went to work and then I took a break, almost passed out. Yeah. I've done that where you go to work and you very much have like a fever. And then, like, during your breaks, you basically, like, take a nap. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but, like, I've done it where, like, you just sneak in what little bit of rest you can get. And it's not a good idea, though, too, because I've actually went outside. I felt so bad that I went out to my car one time for lunch and set my alarm and then slept through the alarm and ended up walking back in an hour late. That was, like, 6-7 years ago or something. But, yeah, I've done it. So far, we're on DC Multiverse. It's starting to snow where I'm at. Not looking forward to winter at all. Two things with that. One, we have had our first snow here. It wasn't enough that it actually stuck or anything, but it snowed pretty good. Like when you were driving down the road and everything, it was good enough that it took your visibility and you could hear it everywhere. And it felt, I mean, it was a good snow. But it was still too early in this area for it to really stick. It kind of stuck on the grass, and that was about it. We did get ice and things like that, but that was it. But the thing about all that, I saw something I want. Like big kid toy. This year, because I have a very long driveway, I have a driveway that's long enough that I can fit like 4 cars and then, you know, on either side. So I can fit like 8 cars going down my driveway, which is often, you know, we have D&D here and stuff like that. So the guys come over and it's always been that way. But the issue with that is that when it starts to snow, it's a real pain to do. Well, I saw recently, through the power of Instagram, like just scrolling videos, that they sell electric shovels, which are very much, they look like weed whackers, basically. The same trimmer that I use on my yard. It's the exact same size and everything. But you basically put that mug on the ground and you push this button, you hit the trigger and you push it, and whee, it just spits the snow out. It's almost like a very small snow blower. That thing, I want that thing. Because they're only relatively like $150, $200, depending on what you go for. I want that. That feels like it will make my life a lot easier this year. That's the adult toy I want this year. Not looking forward to ice. Hey, what's up, everyone? What's going on? Okay, we are 75, so we're still giving it time. We're only 5 minutes, but so far DC Multiverse is winning. And we will see where that goes. We're at 6 minutes. We're giving it 10. Electric snow shovel. Did the dad from Gremlins make this? What is this sorcery? Dude, I'm telling you, like, if you've never seen one, I hadn't seen one. I did not know they were a thing. I didn't see it until, like I said, I was on Instagram just, like, literally flipping videos, like, then video next, video next, video next. And all of a sudden this guy shows up, and he very much is holding what looked to me like a trimmer, like a weed whacker. And he puts it down on the ground, and he's like, "Wah!" And as soon as he hits the button, it just starts spitting snow. And he starts doing his driveway. He's like, "Jant, jant, jant." And as soon as I seen him do this, I said, wait, is he using a trimmer or what? What is that thing? So I went to Lowe's because I had to know, and I seen it, and I was like, oh, that is cool. I want that. Like, for me in my area, especially my driveway and stuff like that, that thing looks beautiful. It's something that I want. Absolutely. Absolutely. Enjoyed your Cesar Romero video. I thought that was wild. It came up randomly, this like old interview with Cesar, and I was like, you know, I want to say something about this. And normally I don't really get too much into like the random shorts. Every now and then if I'm coming across videos where I definitely have something to say, I feel interested enough to do so. But I'm going to be honest, I don't like the way that YouTube does its remix stuff. TikTok did it better. It's just the way that it is. TikTok handles that better than YouTube handles it. It's the way the edit system works and everything. So I don't normally like to do it here on YouTube. The shorts kind of bother me sometimes. If it's something as easy as, you know, you just put the camera over here and you hit the button and you say, hey, we're adding this to the show or whatever, that's different. But like to actually find a video and then clip onto it and like add something and say what I want to say about a subject, it's not handled as well on YouTube as it is on TikTok. And you know what's weird about it? Your YouTube, it's literally already been done for you. Like you could just look at what they do, how they do it, and then make your system do that, and then you could compete. Like why you chose to make it different and worse, I guess I'll say objectively, because all people have opinions as to the systems that they like or don't like. But it feels objectively worse to do short form content on this platform than it does on TikTok, which is weird because if you already see it working over there, just basically copy and paste it. Like, why are you trying to make it worse? Thoughts on Mezco Hulk? I do actually have something to say about the Mezco Hulk. I am a little bit confused on the Mezco Hulk. One, he looks good. There, that's out of the way, okay? He does. He looks good. He looks like a very good figure. But, big cheeks. I have a problem with the Mezco Hulk. One, it is going to scale small. It is. It's Mezco. My Conan, my King Conan feels tiny. I like that Conan a lot, and doing independent shots like doing a picture where it's really just him or something like that. It doesn't bother me. It's something I can get away with. But when I do something with him and anything else, if he stands next to Red Sonja, she's bigger than he is. Both of them, by the way, both Red Sonjas that I have are bigger than the Mezco King Conan. That's weird, since Conan is like a 6'5" man. What's happening? I realize that Sonja is big for a woman. In certain continuities, they make her like 6 feet tall. But that still makes Conan bigger than her. Mezco tends to run everything they do small for the scale that they're claiming. Like, oftentimes, a third of my Marvel Legends end up being bigger than the figures that I get from Mezco. So that Hulk is going to be big, but also small compared to the other Hulks that you can get currently, and could make him look very small for some of the figures that you would put him with. That bothers me a little bit. The second thing, okay, we have to do this. I have seen YouTube channels currently saying that they love the idea that he comes with different heads to kind of get a feel for different eras and expressions of the Hulk. Then why did we hate it when Maximum Hulk did it? How come we got 3 different heads from 3 different eras, and you know, 3 different art styles, and you hated it? Does that make sense? Because to me, it doesn't. It seems very weird to me. The second, I guess a third thing on that, people are excited for this Hulk, which he looks like a good Hulk. If this is the Hulk that you are getting, he comes with a lot of stuff, and he seems like he's going to fit the bill. Like, and even though he is Mezco, he's going to run small, he'll still be bigger than the Marvel Legends you're going to put him with. And one could argue that Hulk's size has dramatically changed and increased over the years, and this will probably be a Hulk more towards the original comic book size. Maybe you could argue that. That's fine. Why are we fine with this Hulk being $140 minimum? That's before tax, before surcharge, and before shipping and handling. But everybody lost their minds when Maximum Hulk was going to be $60. What is it? I mean, it feels like everybody wants this line here to be cheaper just because it is what it is. But as they try to move forward and change and put out better product, because let's give it to them a little bit here. Things like that Ghost Rider, that recent Phoenix, her, that Hulk, Maximum Deadpool, the Gamerverse Wolverine, they are increasing. It is a slow process, I'll give it to you, but they are increasing the overall quality of what we are seeing from Marvel Legends. Let's be honest, this year saw some absolute home runs. One after another, after another, after another, after another. And even if you didn't like him, even if you were like, he's not a big enough upgrade for me, blah, 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 I don't like this, that, and that, we probably got the best Spider-Man that we've ever got. And arguably, compared to some other Spider-Man on the market, even Spider-Man that cost more than him, because I've seen people that, this is subjective, some people like things like the Amazing Yamaguchi Spider-Man. I don't like those figures. There's something about the way the ball joints and like the posability and like his shoulder blades, it feels awkward to me. I don't like it. I like that Maximum Spider-Man a lot. He may very well be the best Spider-Man we have ever gotten at that price range for sure. That's not saying there aren't better ones out there, but at that price range, fantastic. And for me, that is the best Hulk you were going to find at the price range you were going to find him at. So why are we all celebrating, clapping, and cheering at a $140 Hulk when we were so mad? We were Hulk level mad about 60. Can somebody justify the 140? You know, tell me about tooling or engineering or pinless or like, I'm sure you could come up with something. We're all experts at justifying the things that we want to buy. Okay, we do that. But it does feel interesting to me how much of a pass he's getting, and nobody's willing to talk about the other side of the equation. But that's just me bringing stuff up. If you have the money and this is the Hulk that speaks to you, please do. He looks like a solid figure. I won't take that away from him at all, because he does. He looks very good. But I think he will have drawbacks like any other figure, realistically. Let's see. So Multiverse has one, and we don't even have to discuss that. There's only one Multiverse item left in our queue, so we'll just open that. Yeah, because your video got cut off a bit. Yeah, so it's weird. Well, I tried to record that like twice, and it wouldn't let me do it. It kept using the audio from this, but then it would screw up and not do the audio from what I just recorded. It just kept trying to like add music, and then I kept fumbling with it, and I was like, I don't understand. This shouldn't be that hard. On TikTok, okay, I see a video I like, I hit the stitch button, I pick the 5 seconds, and then I push this button down here and I go, and then I hit the button, it's done, and it posts, and it's done, and it works every single time. It doesn't give me any problems. I can then take the background and take the background off, or whatever I want to do, I can do it. It's very simple. It works all the time, and it's very self-explanatory. It's user-friendly. YouTube seems like it's making a conundrum out of everything I do for some reason on the shorts on my phone. It's really bizarre to me. So what I ended up having to do is I said, okay, so the max video that I can make is 3 minutes, so I'll just talk for whatever, and I'll get this. So I hit the button, and then I recorded a thing separately on a separate file, and then I basically uploaded that file as a clip onto that clip. And that worked, except for the ending, because it cut me off in like the last second, and I was like, I'm posting it. I'm not doing it again, and it's only giving me the 60 seconds, and it's weird how restrictive it feels on shorts when there is already a system out there that works that they could have just stolen and used. It's weird to me. Very stoked to see the new TNG figure pickups. Do you think you'll ever create a Borg army or pick up at least one? So this, there's enough in Playmates Star Trek that if you wanted to build like Borg and stuff like that, you could easily do it. That's a system you could do, because it is wild to me that all the Star Trek stuff, even today, I'm finding it at like $7 still in box, $10 still in box. Like, these things were so overproduced that their price is cheaper now than had we bought them when they came out. Like, realistically, way cheaper even. And there's almost nothing you can't find if you're willing just to look for a little while. Oh, I saw those turtles. Those are solid turtles. I am, for what it's worth, passing on them. No disrespect whatsoever to them. They look like very solid figures. But I'm kind of stepping away from turtles until I can kind of put them exactly how I want them. Once I reformat that shelf, I'll kind of see where my dead points are, and then I'll kind of jump back in and figure out what I want to buy. But I'm kind of trying to purposely stay away for a while I let this, happen. And yeah, maybe I will miss out on some good turtles here and there, but I'd rather not buy willy-nilly. I'd rather know exactly where I want to be before I start buying. By the way, Bill, there is a bunch of reissues from Hasbro lately. One of them is Warbird Miss Marvel. Did you pre-order her? Yes. Yes, I did. Absolutely, I did. And I was thrilled to do so. It stupefied me that this was happening at all. Like, all of a sudden, I see Dan, and he posts, and he's like, hey, by the way, don't let these slip by you. Now, I already have Power Princess. In fact, she's right there. So I considered getting another I'm not a huge customizer, but she is such a simple repaint. I think that if I got one and I played with it a little bit, could I make her a Wonder Woman? Even with my level of skill, all I got to do is take her apart, change some black to red, change some black to blue, leave the gold as it is. Could I not nail that? Could I not do... it's not that hard of a custom. It really isn't. It's just a matter of knowing what paint, what matte to use. And I'm sure I could get a lot of tips online as to exactly what paint to use, or just literally look at somebody else that has already done it, that then they will just tell me, this is what I used, this is how I did it, and then I could do it. That's not a hard custom. I think that I could do that. And I am somewhat interested in doing so. Kind of. I did not pre-order her, but it did run through my mind pretty heavily. What I did pre-order is I bought the Warbird, because that was one that I was salty, okay? That was one I missed out on that I was salty about. And I see your comment about Giant Man and Wasp 2-pack. I'll have to see it. I'll have to see it to know whether or not I care to put in for that. But, where was I? I did pre-order the, that's right. I got Warbird, and then also I pre-ordered the 20th anniversary Captain America. I know we just took the other Captain America off the shelf. And I know I have said multiple times that I don't like to have a bunch of the same character on the shelf. And I know how that sounds. However, there are certain things at play with that figure specifically. First off, the two Captain Americas that I have on the shelf are the Captain America from the Gamerverse and the Ultimate Captain America. I love those two Captain Americas. They speak to me. I like them. But my quintessential ideal Captain America is very specific. It is a classic Captain America with the scale mail, must be scale mail, and I want to be able to touch it. I don't want it to just be drawn on. It has to be a thing. Then there are two other small things. I want him to be able to unmask with a proper Steve head. And two, this is weird, but I like this. I like him to have a strap system to hold the shield. Something that makes sense. Ka-chink! It's on there. That Captain America was my absolute desired Captain America. My one, my grail for the shelf. It's what I wanted. Literally, as soon as I said, I'm going to build an Avengers team, I looked up Captain America's. I looked up every single one that was possible in the history of this line. And he is the one that I said, I want that. It was impossible to get. And he was costing $90 minimum in most places to obtain him. In package. That put me off of him. And I ended up saying, okay, well, I'm never going to get that one. I have a certain level rule. I will sometimes pay double the value of an item, Marvel Legends wise, if it is out of print, and I feel that that one specifically is the one for me. I will not pay 3 times its value, 4 times its value. We're not doing that. Once it reaches that level, it is dead to me. Sucks to suck. Maybe someday in the future I can get something comparable. Well, comparable came out. The Captain America from the Secret Wars came out. And he was just enough that I was like, I'm giving up certain things that I want here. I don't get the strap system. He doesn't have the unmasked head. He doesn't have the hood. I don't think he's as good of a build looking at his shield because he only comes with the broken shield. No real effects or anything like that. But does any of this bother me enough that I'll walk away from it? You know what? For $20, we'll see. We'll see. And I left it up to a we'll see. Then I found him at a convention for $25. And I said, all right, you got me. And I put the money down and I bought him. That's how I ended up with that Captain America. Which is also the reason why as soon as I found a better Captain America, that one came off the shelf pretty easily. Now, the exact one that I wanted, the one that I felt I missed out on, comes back onto the market. A reissue. And it's everything I wanted because it's the specific figure I said, that's my ideal Captain America, it's what I want. Well, now I've got him. So I pre-ordered that. So, yes, it does feel a certain way to buy that Captain America after literally taking the other one off the shelf and specifically saying, I don't need 6 or 7 Captain Americas, I'm not that kind of collector. But the circumstances literally fell in line that I ended up with 4 Captain Americas out of nowhere. That being said, true to my word, they don't all stay on the shelf. I need that one ideal Captain America. The Gamerverse is an unbelievable solid figure. And I have the Ultimate Captain America because I did like the Ultimate Captain America quite a bit. At this point, finding another captain to put on the shelf is going to be very tough. That collection point for me is probably dead now. I have everything I could want from Captain America. That's it. Like, I can't imagine them selling anything to me where they're like, hey, this one has a different head or slightly different legs, or this one has the butterflies, or at this point, there's nothing really they're going to get me with that makes me go, oh man, I need another Captain America. That's the end of me buying captains. But yes, these reissues are getting me to buy certain things because there are certain things that I said, that's the one I want, and then it's kind of settled for something else because I'm not going to pay that price, only for them to finally bring these ones out, and the Captain is one of them. So yeah, another Captain America for the shelf. We'll be talking about him. They'll try to argue and say, oh, it's because it's more detailed and high quality, and he comes with more than Max Hulk. He comes with some effects, which I still see the same as he came with a clap effect. Okay, sure. He came with a punch effect. Okay, sure. He comes with the coolest thing, I think, and it would have done a lot of favors for that Hulk right there. He's the Hulk. Every Hulk should be coming with like that, you know, like the broken street, like where he's punched into the ground and it's caving the ground up. That's the best effect that Hulk comes with, personally. That all being said, you could make the argument that he's more detailed. You could make the argument that he has a build that you like more. It speaks to you. You could make the argument that he's the shade of green that you like. All of this stuff is subjective and could justify why you want it. But it doesn't change the fact that we were all Hulk level mad about this guy costing $60, and we're all thrilled about this guy costing $140. That seems funny to me. Collecting is a funny thing to me sometimes. It's really hard to argue the quality of Mezco figures with folks that don't collect or handle them often. They're a completely different thing than Marvel Legends. Not really fair to compare them. And I'll give you that for what it's worth, but at the same time, I think all of the justifications that I make to my problems with Mezco also speak the same thing. And yes, I have owned multiple Mezco, and there's a certain way that they hit me. They scale small. They feel tiny sometimes. They're not always the quality that they get touted as. I had that Wonder Woman. She was a bad figure. I still have that Wonder Woman. She's a bad figure. I have that Conan, the King Conan. He's small, and it feels awkward when I put him next to anybody else in my collection. He's a very standalone character because of that. I also had a, I'm trying to remember what he was. Was that the Wolverine that I bought, 112? It was, I'm almost positive it was the Wolverine that I bought, 112, and it came with soft goods. And a lot of people are very excited about that. Like, oh, they come with soft goods. But I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't know if it's just my life in toys, but like, I actually like this more than I liked the Wolverine Mezco with the soft goods, because the soft goods, it looked awkward. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than it was a very subjective thing. Whenever I messed with him, it felt and looked awkward with him wearing soft goods. Because I feel there's a difference between, like, these Star Trek figures that are meant to wear clothes and these action figures that are meant to be action figures. And it just, on a personal level, it kind of feels like we have to hit a certain scale before soft good full clothes look right to me. Tinier figures with full clothes look weird to me. Like, it just doesn't look right. I don't know. It's a very subjective thing. It's a very art subjective thing. It's not the same. So, like, I do have my things with it. It's just the way I am. Comparing Corolla to a BMW, they're both great cars, totally different things. Speaking of easy repaint, you should look into that $8 Snoop on a stoop throne at Walmart. Decent 112 scale. I bought one and repainted it, worth every penny. I'm not sure that I even know what that is. I'll have to look up what that is, actually. How many Captain Americas are you getting? Bill, yes. Just saying, Mezco Cap has the trunks, textured scale mail, unmasked head with loose hood, neck for... Yeah, but he feels small to me. I know that's a weird thing, but the scale does matter. And if I start buying Mezco Mezco goes with Mezco, but I have to kind of play around with it to get it to fit part of my other displays, and it bothers me a little bit. Like the Superman that I had, he felt tiny, and it always bothered me. It bothered me enough that I sold him. From personal preference, the head on Mezco Hulk is too big. The head is too proportionately larger than I would like. Shade of green does nothing for me either. This is just my opinion. And this is the thing, too. All of this is subjective. All of it. And we are going to like the things we like, and we are going to justify the things that we justify. And little nitpicky things that bother one collector is not going to mean anything to another one. It's not. Nobody's going to care. Like, for some people, they're like, oh man, that was my favorite thing about the figure. And then for me, that was actually what I disliked the most about that figure. So like, it's just, we, as collectors, we have our nitpicky things that we like and or don't like. Bill buying Captain America. I do this all day. That Spin Master Superman and Kaiju is only $12 on Amazon right now. Heck of a deal. Same with the Spin Master 11 Superman 4-pack. To me, all the Mezco Spider-Man figures look like they're in footy pajamas. At least I'm not alone. There's something about the small figures being in real clothes that feel funny to me. I'm right there with you. I get it. They look awkward. They don't look right to me. Is 20 the 4-pack down from 55? Oh, it's 20. The 4-pack is down from 55. That's solid. Have you seen anything you'd want from McFarlane lately? Hard to say. I mean, I got that Batman Returns stuff, and I've heard that they're doing hold on, brain thing, worky thing, brain. Oh, I saw that they're gonna do it's rumor, I guess, but there's a Jack Nicholson Joker coming out. That's solid. I think that I would really be into that, especially with the fact that we already got the Batmans and whatnot to go with him. And there's certain things I definitely would like, because if I'm being perfectly honest, there are certain things like that we don't have that are still very much a wish list for me. And he doesn't have long to do them. I would love a Linda Carter Wonder Woman. I would love that. I would love a reprint of the Wonder Woman that I want. I would also love for them to do a Burt Ward Robin. I don't know why we don't have that yet. And you know, this is going to be way left field, okay? Way over here. But I'm going to say it. You know what I'd love? I'm talking a dream now. This is a dream, okay? Have a dream with me. Green Hornet figures from McFarlane that fit in with all the other stuff that he's done. Can you imagine a Green Hornet and Kato? They can do this with this Batman. If they can make this Batman this good, a Green Hornet and Kato to go alongside it, along with a Burt Ward Robin, sign me up. There's a couple other things that are on their way. Like I see that he's going to be going really heavy into Image. That's exciting. That's legitimately exciting. As he leaves one set of comic books behind and he dives into another, we're going to get a Witchblade. And if that Power Girl is any indication, we're going to get a Witchblade. And hopefully he doesn't skimp out on what that should be. That's cool. We could get the Darkness. We're already getting Savage. I can't remember his name right now, but they just announced him coming out. we're going to get different things from Image. Does that mean we could actually get the Image Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider from the Image comics? That would be cool. Could we get Magdalena? Could we get the Darkness? There's a lot here. Could we get Darkchild? Guys, there's a lot of potential for him to move into this other thing that hasn't been touched yet and do some really cool stuff from the 90s that we grew up with. Could we get a Fathom? Is that possible? If he's diving into that area, Top Cow, Image, things of that nature, if he has those licenses, that's a whole area of comic book stuff that doesn't get attention and hasn't really been touched. He could corner the market there. And I think that is kind of exciting. Like, I'm kind of into that. I'm very much looking forward to what he does as he steps away from DC and has to go into what else he has. There's some potential here. Could he screw up? Of course he could. We've watched him screw up. But when McFarlane releases something good, it is very good at the price point that he tends to stay at. So I'm going to cross my fingers here and hope for a couple more solid figures. And there'll be solid figures removed from the regular everyday. They won't be Batman all the time. This could be cool. We could get Aphrodite. We could get Magdalena. We could get Fathom. We could get the Darkness. We could get Darkchild. We're gonna get a Witchblade. Like, could we get things like, could he dive in and do like wild crap like Bomb Queen? Like, I'm telling you, this opens the door for him to do some wild stuff. How far will that go? And will he end up having to sell mostly online depending on what it is? I don't know. But it has my attention. Ugh. Vroom, vroom. This is it, guys. This is the only item sitting in the queue for DC Multiverse. This big Batmobile. This is my favorite Batmobile ever. Ever. I know people really like the 80s Batmobile. I get it. That's a very cool car. Some people, sadly, really like the Batmobile from Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. I'm sorry that that happened to you. But there are many avenues where you can seek help. Please do. We all care for you. And your Batmobile choices can be better. Some people really like things like the Tumbler, or they like the new Batmobile, which is that's a sick Batmobile. That's a sick Batmobile. The muscle car, that's cool. No problem with that. But for whatever reason, this thing here, when I first saw this on TV, okay, and we're gonna go in the Wayback Machine here for a second, guys. Okay, you ready to go to the Wayback Machine? The far, far Wayback Machine. There was a time when I went to the country, okay? I was literally, my closest neighbor was relatively 10 miles away. That's not a joke. I lived in the absolute deep country, like farmland country. When I was living there, the television had 4 channels. That was it. That was it. One channel was almost like a TV Land or Nick at Night that played all day. That's all it was. I watched I Love Lucy. I did. I watched a lot of it. It was on, okay? I watched Gilligan's Island. I watched Batman 66. I discovered the original Star Trek. I watched a lot of really old TV during that time. It was on. That was what was on. The other thing was a news channel, and then there was like a PBS type of all access public station thing that was on. Like there was nothing. Like there was no TV out where I was, okay? This is what I had. And my old TV was knobs, okay? It was do 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 do, and then you see you take this knob, you'd be like do 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 do, and you put that on the one spot. Then you go down to the bottom knob, and it'd have like 56 little individual things, which none of them mattered because there were only 4 channels. You'd be like, and you go over and you mess with the bunny ears on the TV until you got it, and then you'd have to do with the little V hold and the H hold until you got it, because every channel worked different. So like you'd have to be like down to like 36, and then that would bring up the thing, and then you mess with the bunny ears until you got it perfect, and then you go down here and you'd be like, you mess with that, and then you mess with this, and then finally that station, the TV land station, would be in, and you could watch some Batman. And then there was like 2 other, like it was like, sorry, there were 4 other dials which like handled color, and every station seemed to handle color a little differently, so you'd have to go down there and mess with it until the color was right for the station you were watching. It was something. And it was during that time that I started watching Batman. And this car showed up. And I, at the time, being a young kid, took that show very seriously. It didn't feel like a joke to me. It wasn't until later that I grew up and realized, like, I had different stages with this Batman. I thought it was fantastic. Then I grew up and thought it was stupid. I had that whole moment that a lot of us have. I say a lot of us because I think this is a very common thing where you're like, you grew up a bit and then you wanted a cool Batman. That Batman was a joke, and Batman's not a joke, and you're not going to stand for it, and blah, 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 and you're hardcore and you're cool or whatever. You know, kid crap. Then I grew up a little more, and I realized that was the point, and the show took on a whole different meaning for me, and I loved it on a whole different level. But strangely enough, even during that time when I was like, that's the dumbest Batman I've ever seen in my entire life, I can't stand that Batman, I can't believe that they did that to Batman, this car never got any disrespect from me ever. I don't know what it is, but even in the comics later on, when I started seeing a car that was kind of like this show up in the comics, like around the time of like Death in the Family, he's driving a car that is suspiciously like this. And I was like, yep, that's for me. I loved this Batmobile. It is still today my favorite Batmobile that they have ever driven in any one of the movies and or series ever. I can't explain it. It just hits. It feels right all the time. To the point where it really disappointed me when I heard that in the Arkham Knight series there was going to be a DLC, and they kind of promoted the idea that you could get the classic 66 Batman costume, which that I was okay with, and that we were supposedly going to get a DLC for this car. It was just a color scheme. That did not thrill me. I was pretty irritated about that, because I thought we were going to be able to select and DLC the different Batmobiles that we wanted to drive, and that was not what happened, and I didn't get this car, even though I thought I was promised this car, and I was pretty sore about it. It is what it is. I was. This thing is huge. I have already heard some disheartening things about it. That it doesn't actually fit the character, and that it's not very detailed, and it's really just kind of an upscale of the last one that they put out, and some people are not loving it. I'm not most collectors. Let me just go ahead and put that out there right now. I will call out certain things and say, oh, this feels weird, or this is kind of chonky, or I have my quirks just like every other collector. But I'm also not as hardcore as some of the people that get really super into like the detail and things like that. If this speaks to me, that's what I needed to do. My bar is a little lower than other people's. I will admit that. Sometimes it doesn't take that much for a toy to be what it needs to be and get my attention. So, we are going to open this and check it out. But in case you were debating getting this and there's still a chance for you to do so, I don't know what the possibility of that is. But say you're still kind of thinking about it and you've kind of had it on reserve or whatever and you're not 100% sure and you're looking for me to kind of give you the in and say, oh, I think it's perfect or whatever. Know that before you go in. This is not a review show. This is a fandom interest show. So if I end up loving this, it doesn't necessarily mean you will. Just getting that out of the way, because I've already been told there's some people not loving this and there's some people kind of holding off on buying it because of that. So I want that out in the open before we open it. Let's open it. Okay. Here it is. First off, that's big. I had to make sure the mic was actually on. It feels like it's scaled properly. That's a feels like. We're gonna kind of make sure, but it sure feels right. This sucker's huge. This is now easily the biggest vehicle I have in the entirety of my collection. Put that into perspective real quick. I don't collect a lot of vehicles. To be perfectly honest, I have the Ecto 1 from the original Kenner stuff. I have the Party Wagon from Playmates. Oh, I have a Superpowers Batmobile. A Wind Raider. A motorcycle for Ghost Rider, the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. Still, personally, the best Marvel Legends Ghost Rider they have done. I don't care. It is. For me, it is. Oh, and a Batwing from Superpowers. So this thing is almost monstrously big. Like, it is really something. So, okay, let's try. Nothing opens or anything. It is very much, it's just like a thing here. We got the parachutes in the back, which is pretty cool. We got this, which I'm going to be honest, it would have been cool if this would have been like a magnet back there and we would have got like a little fire effect to put in. I know I'm asking I'm already kind of going, I kind of wish, but I kind of do, okay? I'll be honest, I kind of do. It's the way I feel. Maybe these could have been painted. Like, these could have been a chrome, and it would have been nice if that would have been, like, black right there to kind of close that idea out. But, okay. The side, of course, just like the other side. Minor thing, it would have been nice if these wheels, like if this part was solid and didn't move. I don't know how accurate that is to the show, but it's nice to think that once it parks, both wheels, like, because now whenever you do a shot, you're always going to have to line these wheels up yourself and kind of make that happen. It would have been nice if that just would have been like the rims don't move and the wheels move. I don't know how much of a difficulty that would have been to set up. I'm no engineer in terms of stuff like this, but it would have been nice, is what I'm saying. The underside of the car, nothing too extreme. It very much reminds me of the old toy cars that we used to buy that did just enough with the undercarriage to make you go, okay, and that's it. You're not going to like prop this up and make it look and make it believable that like Batman's working on the car or something like that. You're not going to get that out of this. Also, it's not going to open, and it's not going to open, so you got nothing like that where you can play with it. But the shape of it is absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. Like, here's from the front with the Batman and everything. That's absolutely fantastic. You have the little radar dish thing right there, the little antenna, which is pretty cool. Inside, I'm going to try to show this to you the best I can. We do have the phone. We have some gadget gears and things like that. We have the siren up here, which of course it doesn't light up or anything. It's very much just a plastic thing. We have a steering wheel, and it does not move. It doesn't move. It's a static steering wheel. We do have the little screen where they used to get phone calls, and they used to push the little button, and then he'd come up on the screen and everything like that. I'm seeing things in here. There's a gear shift type of thing that's in there. If you're looking, so like, and it has the fire hydrant. The fire extinguisher fire hydrant. So I'm seeing enough here that while I could complain and say, oh, it would have been cooler to have like a lot more detail, I don't hate this. I didn't pay that much for it either. If we're being perfectly honest, this car didn't cost that much. What was this? 40-something bucks? I mean, I've paid more than that to get worse than this. In fact, we are currently paying $40 for some figures that aren't even close to the size of this. So, like, I don't know. I don't think that's bothering me that much. One of the things we bought this for, though, if we're being perfectly honest with ourselves, it needs to fit Batman, right? That is the idea. This has to fit Batman. Or what is the point? That means that when they designed it, they should have had their Batman specifically in mind. And it had to have been the DC Multiverse Batman. No other Batman. That had to be in mind when they did this. If not, then they've done something wrong. So, for argument, there is Adam West Batman. From specifically this line, specifically the Batman that they should have used to get the idea for dimensions for this car. So, we are going to take this Batman. Yes, I know, you point very well, okay? And we are going to put his legs down. Now, this is a McFarlane thing, okay? So we got his legs. Do you go in this car? Your cape is a little bit of a problem, but it's a wireframe, so we're going to kind of move it, see if we can't get it to cooperate with us. And then we're going to push you down in there, okay? He can put his hands on the wheel. I'm going to play with him a little bit here. Does that look passable? You might argue that it seems a little bit, that he seems a little big. And that maybe you would like him to be a little lower, that these windshields may have been a little bit higher, but for me, that doesn't seem that bad. I know everybody's going to feel a little bit different about it, and also I just stuffed him in there. I didn't go out of my way to actually work the legs or move the cape or anything like that. You just watched me do it. I just stuffed him in there, and he's in there. And he's still got his pointy finger. So he's still set up for something that isn't even what this is. And he's there. And it's, to me, it's passable. His cape is in the way right now. And he's sitting on it, and it's bunched up, and it's even pushing him up a little bit. So, I mean, if you get the idea, I think it's passable. I think it's passable. Which means now they need a Burt Ward Robin. Like it's not even negotiable anymore. They now need a Burt Robin because Batman shouldn't just be cruising around by himself. Right? He needs somebody else to cruise with. Robin makes the most sense. Could we get a Yvonne Craig Batgirl? This is what I'm talking about. We're at the end of the line. Are we actually going to see some of these things that we've been hoping for? Could we get the rest to close out that line? It would have been real cool to watch this go the distance and to get things like the Riddler, the Joker, the Penguin from the TV series. I don't see that happening. But at the very least, if you made the Batmobile, and at least for me, it's a passable little thing. It's passable. At $40 being that big, housing that Batman, going on my shelf, it's fantastic. I'm fine with it. I don't think this is a bad thing at all. I think this is very good. I think it's well done. However, some people may feel a certain way about it. That's fine. My collection is my collection, and your collection is your collection. And my collection, it never had to live up to your expectations, and it was never going to. I'm thrilled with this. For $40, I have my favorite Batmobile in a ridiculous size that will guarantee that I can put just about any one of those figures in it and cruise around. I can get some pretty cool shots with this. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I'm 100% sold on it. Now, I just wish that we could get the... I just wish we could get a Burt Ward Robin. It feels weird to have Batman solo this car. The only other acceptable would be if we could get the Yvonne Craig Batgirl, which I've heard there's something weird going on with the licensing there, that even when they released the Yvonne Craig Batgirl for the other collection of Batman 66 McFarlane stuff, it actually is not Yvonne Craig, that it's something else, and it's basically a comic book Batgirl, and they had to do something weird with like the licensing or something like that to get her to be in the line. I don't claim to know exactly what that's about, only that I know that supposedly that's a thing. But now I just wait. Now I just wait and cross my fingers that I can actually finish the second half of this Batmobile setup. If not, this Batman cruises alone. Kind of sad. What you gonna do? Either way, I got my favorite Batmobile on the shelf, and I don't need another Batmobile. This is it. At this point, I have the two Batmobiles I have wanted the most. Superpowers Batmobile, I just always liked it, and 66 Batmobile. I'm not a big collector guy on like vehicles and whatnot, so this is it for me. I don't see myself getting anything more after this point for this kind of stuff, and that's fine. That's fine. This will be one of my little standout pieces. I'll love it for what it is, and I don't need anything else. I don't need like the 80s Batmobile to go with Michael Keaton or whatnot, and I'll be fine. This is it. I'm happy with it. Let's set this up. Okay, let's do... All right, put that back. And there was some stuff here we're still talking, so let's see. Now, I will say and admit that Mezco leader looks good. I'd buy that. More like a Barbie doll. Oh, we were talking about the clothes. Yeah, I get it. I've never owned a McFarlane before. They've never appealed to me, mostly because I'm a Marvel guy. I pre-ordered the Persona 3 figure, though, so that'll be my first. I saw that Persona 3 figure today. He doesn't look bad. He doesn't look bad. I did call out the price, that I got a little bit of concern here, that I feel like he's overcharging for a Persona figure that really isn't that much more detailed or that much more different than the line that he's already doing. But he looks solid. That Persona 3 figure, he does look solid, which gives me a little bit of hope, even though I don't want to pay those prices. It gives me a little bit of hope that if he has the Persona license, maybe we'll get an entire cast of Persona 4 characters. And if he's willing to do that, I won't like it, but he would scam that money out of me. Persona 4 is in my top 10 video games of all time. And I'm not exaggerating. If I had to pick 10 off my shelf, off my collection of the best games in the history of my entire life, Persona 4 sits in that top 10. It is one of my all-time favorite games, hands down, no questions asked. Fantastic. So I would be interested in owning the entire cast. It's crazy they put it up for pre-order in July and it's coming out in January. It's already in Walmarts. I'm seeing it in their electronic sections and whatnot. Now, I'm not saying you will guarantee. I get it. It's always a luck of the draw. But I'd check your Walmarts. You might just be able to buy it and cancel the pre-order that you have. Because I'm seeing it show up in stores now. Hey, Bill, when watching your video from the toy show and you talked about Wesley, I thought of memes on YouTube where Picard and everyone keeps telling, shut up, Wesley. Yeah. Shut up, Wesley. Yeah, that happened all the time. All the time. And not that it didn't make sense, because I think even the writers, I think that was actually a joke. I can't prove this. But there's something when I watch that makes me feel like even the writers knew that Wesley was a fantasy insert, a writer insert like that kind of thing. And they knew it. So when he started going on and on about whatever, they would just be like, shut up. Stop it. Like, I think that actually is written. I think that's kind of a jab by the writers when they were being told, hey, this kid's a mega genius and he saves the day all the time and do this with him and you can't put him in these kind of situations or whatever. So they were like going out of their way sometimes to be like, have the kid shut up. Like, and have the other characters blatantly know that there's something not right about the way that he's been inserted into these stories. I don't think that was on accident. I really do not. Not for a moment. But I did mean what I said. I think that Wesley had the real opportunity to be a very solid character, and right when they got him there, they got rid of him, which feels really stupid to me. And you're telling me you couldn't have found any reason at all to bring him back for like in the movies? Like, actually, you telling me he wouldn't have taken a payday? I know they did the whole he's with the Traveler and blah, blah, blah and all this other crap. I feel like he's wasted potential, and I always have. Someone say the darkness because I am so in. Yeah, absolutely. Got super lucky and got the whole Returns wave. I missed out on the wave when it first dropped due to more important stuff, but later most of that wave came back, certain figures. So I've still yet to come across Max in any capacity. I'm not finding him anywhere. I don't see him anywhere. So it's starting to feel like I'm not going to get Max, but I got everything else. On different days, only one I couldn't get retail was Max. I've yet to find Max. And some people like a tank. Right. Usually the case with a lot of McFarlane Red Label releases, they're hard to find at retail unless you're in a lucky area. Yeah, I've noticed that. And it's a real killer, too. Because I get the idea. Like, they make it like a chase, and then you go to the store, and you'll be super excited when you find it. But, like, it also adds a little bit of stress to the hobby that we just do not need. All you need now, Bill, is the good old shark repellent and bat shield. Gold label. The gold label Batmo Beast heavy plus heavy metal Batman combo looks sick and isn't expensive. I saw that. I did. I saw what you're talking about. Yeah. What I'm surprised is that why Hasbro hasn't released any Marvel vehicles. I'm not talking about the Blackbird, but vehicles like the Fantastic Car or Shield-related vehicles. Yeah, I've noticed they stay away from it. It took us forever just to get a couple of motorcycles. Like, and we got that stupid hover sled that we got like that dumb hover sled that like Hawkeye uses or whatever, and like little things like that. But it is not a normal thing in Marvel Legends to get any kind of those releases, which is weird when you look at the fact that vehicles are coming out left and right for G.I. Joe. Maybe you could argue that G.I. Joe is built for that concept and always has been, so without it, it would have felt like the line was missing something. I don't know. I think there's arguments to be made one way or another, but I'm not 100% sure. It does feel weird, though, that we never get anything, even though there are so many vehicles associated with Marvel characters. I would have gotten the Figma Makoto, but I really prefer the Reload C's outfit. I get that. I hope McFarlane gives us the Batcopter for the 6-inch retro line and for the multiverse, either the Bat Missile or the Forever Batmobile with Dr. Chase Meridian included. I doubt we're going to get a Chase Meridian. I really doubt it, but I get it. Before he loses the license. That's a real question, is as his license comes into question here, how close are we to the final. Like, because toys are a funny thing. You have to plan them pretty far in advance. And some of this stuff that he's pumping out, I almost don't even know how he's getting them out the door. Like, it feels like they're coming out too fast. He must have put a lot of stuff into overdrive. When he figured out he wasn't getting the license, he just said, finish what you can and put a priority on it. Get everything out the door we can as fast as we can, make the money we can before it's too late. I bought the Nimrod. The Nimrod Deluxe, I did buy it. I almost passed on it. I was very close. I'll be perfectly honest. But I really do still love the X-Men. I did leave the X-Men for what it's worth. But I still love them. They were still a very big part of my life. I still took a lot from them. And I still very much appreciate all the storylines that I had over the years. And I'm still interested, for what it's worth, in reading new storylines as I feel comfortable enough to buy graphic novels. I'm not getting back into the main continuity and trying to keep up with the books anymore. It's not for me anymore. There's so much of it that has changed or left or altered in so many drastic ways that it's hard for me to appreciate them anymore in that way. But that will never change the association that I have with them and how much I love them for what they are. And Nimrod, being the sentinel that basically brought on the extinction of the X-Men. Look, he's kind of a big deal. He's goofy looking, and I thought that in the comics and the television series. But that doesn't stop me from wanting one. Like, I mean, it doesn't. I want one. So now I have a chance to have one. So let's do... Oh, okay. There. Yeah, so we'll see how he turns out. I heard some people complaining that he's not quite comic book. I think I'm fine with that. Sometimes I'm particular. Nimrod, I think he looks good enough that I know exactly what he is. Like, I looked at him and I said, that's Nimrod. Like, there was no question in my mind. Yeah, the colors aren't 100%. Yeah, some of the details a little funny. Yeah, they had to include that different head to kind of make him, more comic accurate or classic instead of the one that was released in the 3-pack. But when I looked at him, there was not even a moment of hesitation. I said, oh, it's Nimrod. Done. Done. No question, no notes. Like, he's exactly what he's supposed to be. So I was like, that's good enough for me. I'll put him on the shelf. And then at that point, even if they released one that was perfect, I can't imagine that I would care. Like, I'd be like, yeah, that's an upgrade, but it's a $60 upgrade. I have one that fits the bill that looks like Nimrod that nobody's really going out of their way to call out unless they're like hardcore, like elite collectors. And if so, I'm not associating with them anyway, so who cares? He'll do the trick for me. He's Nimrod. he's perfect. Days of Future Past was and is probably one of the darkest stories in X-Men history. Seeing the graves and the tombstones of well-known X-Men painted a bleak picture of an alternate reality. Absolutely. And you know, chances are a good portion of us were exposed to that when we were kids. The idea that the hatred they were dealing with and fighting against, and the people they were trying to do for, would hunt them to extinction. That's like hardcore dark. Not just for the time, but for the idea that they were kind of selling. Everybody always says, oh, comic books is for kids. All right, fine, sure. I would argue there's a little more nuance to that demographic than they would like to claim. But if so, and that's the way you feel about it, then explain some of these storylines and some of the nuanced details that go into it that really make you go, is this really the kind of world that we live in? That's horrifying. And we were exposed to it, most of us, as kids. Like, look at this. This is what we're dealing with. Like, that's craziness to me. Oh, okay. So so far, we got a tie here. Let me go look real quick. Okay, we have 8 people hanging out, but we've only got 2 votes so far. We'll see how this goes. The Nicholson Joker might be the one with sunglasses on to get around not being able to use Jack's likeness. It's him, but because he can't see his entire face, it's a legal loophole. Okay. Will I be okay with that? I have to see him. That's what I'll say. Maybe I would let that go. But I have to see him because, like, that could still be passable. But it could also ruin it if we get it and we're like, is it Jack Nicholson? I mean, because that's what he's supposed to be. So that could be rough. We'll see. Well, but I do get what you're saying. So we'll have to wait to see what they show us. Did I ever get my hands on the Hawk Girl from McFarlane? Yes, absolutely, I did. That has not been broken down into a chapter video yet, but there's a lot. There's a lot of them that are being made into chapters right now. I have 7 videos that are chapter ready that are going to be going up. I was like I said in the 2 shorts. It's just been a really crazy 2 weeks that don't seem to be getting much better for me right now. And so it's kind of slowed my productions down. But there's like 7 chapters that are ready to come out. And I did review her on one of the lives, and I loved her. I think she's phenomenal. There are things to complain about. There's a couple changes in her articulation compared to other figures that are noticeable on her, more so than I think on some other characters. But for what they did, for the price of her, with those wings, I don't know how much I can complain, really. And I've already taken a couple of pictures of her, like knocking out Juggernaut on my Instagram. So I already have a couple pictures of her on there and whatnot. I plan to get a couple more pictures with her, too. Arrived just before the 66 Batmobile. Fair opinion. Okay, thank you, actually. Yeah. From what comparisons between the comics and the Nimrod Deluxe, I would say he's fairly comic accurate because the colors on it, I think he was going for that pink glow on his body in certain panels. It's nitpicky crap. I've been seeing it online where people are already complaining about him and saying that his colors aren't right, his face isn't right. Very nitpicky crap where they pick out the one panel and they go, see, blah, 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 blah. This happens all the time. I see it all the time, especially with things like where they say, oh, you know, he's not supposed to be that buff, or this guy's supposed to be skinny, or this guy's face isn't supposed to look like that, or yada yada. And it's always funny because with comic book stuff, depending on whom the artist is, what panel you pick, and how consistent their work was in whatever book you're talking about, characters look different all the time. Even Wolverine is sometimes he's a skinnier build. Sometimes he's very wide. Sometimes he's way smaller than you would think he actually is. And sometimes he's just about the right height that you think he is. And then other times, he's like standing face to face with another guy, and he's looking him dead in the eyes, and you stop and you look at the book and you go, you know, I wasn't questioning it a moment ago, but isn't the guy that he's looking in the eyes right now, isn't he like 5'10"? Are you standing on a hill, Wolverine? What is happening right now? Like, there's little things like that happen with comics, and people will pick that one scene or the one art that they like, and then they'll go, this isn't comic accurate because I could show you a picture of my comic and it doesn't look like. And it's just funny to me just how extreme people get. But I'm already seeing it where people are already calling out the Nimrod figure, saying that it's not comic accurate and showing pictures. And sure, if you want to nitpick certain things, you could make that argument. I'm looking at it and going, sure, I see what they're talking about. But at the same time, to me, I look at him, that figure, and I go, it's Nimrod. To me, it's right. It doesn't bother me. I don't need an absolute perfect, like, people are already mad about, like, the colors and stuff like that, and they're saying, that wasn't blah, 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 that was shadow effects and this and that, and it's nitpicky crap. But you see it with every figure that gets released anymore. You know what I mean? We're at 5 votes, 9 minutes. We currently have 8 people hanging out, as far as I can tell anyway. Let's give it a little bit more time. If you think that collectors of the 6-7 scale nitpick too much, the 1/6 collectors, I know. But, okay, this is mild, but I'm going to give this one to them. If you are buying in the 1/6 scale, you are spending well over $200 a figure. Sometimes at minimum. At that price range, you tend to notice things a lot more, and you tend to be a lot more severe about those things. Case in point, I'll use me. I bought the Mondo Tila. I have 2 of them. And I love that figure. But I have noticed over time that her articulation is awful. I paid $300 for that Tila. And her articulation is terrible. There's no way around it. It's terrible. And it actually made me worry about other possible Mondo figures. Like as to whether or not I wanted to buy into other lines. Because when you spend $300 on a figure, and the articulation scale is already pretty weak, like the legs don't really want to work with you 100%, the arms have a hard 90-degree stop, the shoulders, they kind of pop and creak, and then they don't really go as much as you want. Like, it's noticeable, okay? And a problem with that is that once you start to notice all that, and you start to go, okay, there's some problems here. Then you follow that up with giving her a sword, a sheath, a belt. And you expect me at $300 to pop the torso off and put the belt on. That belt needs a clasp. And at $300, I'm going to look at those things and call them out a little more hardcore than I would have before. I'm going to say, not okay. That you need to fix that. I'm not going to pop the torso off. No. Little things like that get concerning with stuff like that. As well as things like you buy a $300 figure and they give you a shield and it feels really tight on the wrist. Like to the point that you might pop the shield, or you might rub the paint off the forearm. We're at $300. Sometimes more. That's getting risky. You might give me one of those pleather leather jackets that starts cracking and peeling in less than a year. That's a $300+ figure. At those price ranges, I am going to call those things out a little more. And I'm going to be more concerned with them than I would have originally been. So, like, I get it. I really do. 1/6 scale collectors have a little more room to complain than most of us. Look, if I get her and she's mostly fine, I'm mostly fine with it. I could complain, and oftentimes I will be like, I would have preferred this, or this should have been different, or yada yada. Sure, I'll call things out here and there. But when we come right down to it, she put me back $20, $40 if you include that she came with a box set, because she was there's 2 characters. But how much am I really warranted to complain at that price level, instead of like if I would have paid $360 for a Marvel girl? At that point, I don't want to see the joints. She better be a Fison body. You get what I'm saying? Like, she better be everything I want her to be, or I have wasted my money. Because I could get 2 figures, or I could get a PlayStation 6. There's room to complain more on those figures, I think, and I think that we will do that. And I think that it can and will be justified more so than just, oh man, these guys are so picky. Well, they're a little more invested than I am. They're a little more hardcore than I am. We're collecting very differently. I collect in a nostalgic scale. I want a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of stuff. I take pictures. I enjoy it. I built a museum to myself. I'm surrounded by the things that I love. And I'm very forgiving as long as those things speak to me. I am not a 1/6 collector collecting things with absolute movie accuracy and real clothes and things of that nature. That's not me. So it's a very different concept, I think. So I kind of give them leeway to complain the way that they do. I'm waiting for another new Eternia Tila myself. I ended up getting Revelation Tila for now. I agree that they should bring back Bicep Swivel and Double Elbow. Okay, waiting for another new Eternia Tila. So I got the new Eternia Tila, and I did cover her. I talked about her. She's not as bad as I expected. And I also talk about how I ended up getting one because I said I would not be buying one. It was given to me, so I checked it out. That being said, I'm waiting to see what this next Tila does, because there's a new one coming out from the Walmart Collector Con. I'm waiting to see what that does, what that looks like. And then I'm probably going to do what you're talking about. I'm probably going to go buy, I hate that this is even a thing. I'm probably going to have to go buy some old Tilas to break them down and steal their arms. I detest that is something we are going to have to do to keep the line modernized. And realistically, if it wasn't Tila, I wouldn't do it. Like, that She-Ra, they offered to replace her. I told them, no. I don't want her at all. I don't want the responsibility of having to make her the way that you should have made her to begin with. I'm not interested. I don't need her. She's not going on my shelf. And I'm not about to try to find another She-Ra to break the arms off, to put the arms on the She-Ra that should have just had those arms to begin with. I'm not going to double buy a bunch of figures. I'm going to do it for one. Do a custom. Get it the way I want it. And then for the females of the line, I'm probably done. And that sucks, but they need to fix that. And I don't care what kind of cost-cutting procedure or anything it was. They, at the very least, needed the bicep swivel. They cut it down too much. And it's not acceptable. I'm sorry, but that's too much money. Hot Toys, Mondo, they all look amazing, but don't articulate that well. That's a lot of money for the risk of potentially damaging the figure. Not worth it, in my opinion. And I do talk about that. In that review specifically, I talked about that. And then when I found out that mine was defective, I called it out even harder. Because I was like, you sold me a $300 figure. Unacceptable. Now, to give them credit, the second Mondo realized that the one that I got was wrong. They sent me a full replacement body. Okay. I'll give it to you. I did not expect that. I got a full replacement body. Not like an arm, not like just the torso or something like that. They sent me out a second $300 figure. Okay. You made it right. But, like I said, if you're going to play in that scale, you're going to understand the kind of customers that you're now latching onto, and you better be taking care of those guys, because you better believe they have way bigger mouth than I do, because they're paying that kind of money on the regular, and they're not about to be cheated of it. And if you lose one of those guys, you don't lose the guy that wants a $20 Wolverine. That's like trying to tell McDonald's, I won't be coming back. You've lost a customer today. They don't give it. They don't care. It doesn't matter. Walk away. You proved nothing. They don't need your $5. Some other schmuck will come along to take your place. In the $300 figure game, there's not another schmuck coming along to take your place. They need you to stay there. Not big spenders in this kind of stuff don't come around like that. And then if you screw them, they're gone. They're going to go spend their $300, $400, $500 on something else. And they're not coming back. So you can't afford to play games. That's why these companies that do these $300, $400 figures, they will go out of their way. Sometimes if you're like, hey, this thing is wrong, or I have 2 left legs, or yada yada, they're like, just replace the whole thing. Don't even take the chance, because we need their $500 on the next figure. Like, so you can kind of give them that at least. Because when you call up Mattel and say, hey, my figure's kind of wonky, something's wrong with it, they go, yeah, that kind of sucks. And then you explain it, and then you show what's wrong, and then they look through their inventory and they go, yeah, well, we don't really have that figure right now. There's not really a whole lot we can do. I'll tell you what we can do. We can maybe send you something else, and it might be just as broken and just as wonky. It's a very different kind of situation. It feels different. I just went through it with that Tila, and that's what got me the Red Beastman, which I like that Red Beastman a lot. So that's fine with me. And they did do me right. Don't misunderstand. I talk about it in that video. They did do me right. But the fact remains, it was a very different experience going through Mattel to try to get another Tila, which then didn't end up with the Tila, but instead ended up with that Beastman, as opposed to when I went and told Mondo my Tila's busted, and they were like, unacceptable. And they like replaced the entire thing, hands down, no question, send in a special box and everything. And it wasn't as complicated. Like, I showed my video, they looked at my review, they saw that it was busted, and then they just sent me the information. I didn't have to do all this, like prove that I had this and then blah, 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 and all this other stuff and yada, yada. Mattel was a whole thing, man. It was like, show us your receipt, show us your mail information, show us maybe a picture of the figure, show us your proof of purchase code. They just wanted like 20 different things. And I was like, this is a big headache, to the point where I almost don't even want to do this. But here's this, here's this. I took like 5 screenshots. I took a picture of the figure. I took a picture of the thing. And then I sent all that out. And then I showed them the video where I talked about it. And then they were finally like, hey, we're going to take care of this. And then they sent me the Beastman. Which, like I said, hey, good on you. That's a good Beastman. But it's a different kind of monster. It absolutely is it's a different kind of customer. It's a different kind of buy. It's different. Let's rock this out. Scarlet Spider. I wanted this. I missed out on this. I didn't get this. I was slow. For whatever reason, there was something else going on. Like I've said before on this channel, I've said it many times, I'll say it many times again, because it's true to life. $20 spent here is $20 you can't spend there. It is what it is. We like, especially when we get into a lot of this stuff, we like a lot of different stuff. So we go, hey, this is a thing that I want, but also this is a thing that I want, but also this is a thing that I want, but also this is a thing that I want. What do I get? Oh, well, I only have $50. Prioritize. Sometimes we hedge our bets and we go, Batman's always going to be on the market. He'll be on the shelf. I'm not worried about it. I'll get him later. Nope. You guessed wrong. The market played games, and you got one thing and the other thing disappeared. That happened with Scarlet Spider. And I just kind of said, well, that sucks. I seen him here and there, asking prices as high as $60, $70. I also seen him in other places where he would come back into stock randomly, but I'd be interested in something else at the time, and I kept putting him off. Finally, I went to the convention, the QuadCon, and I'd given myself a $200 budget. And as I was walking out, I'm on my last couple bills, and I walk across this Spider-Man. And I said, $40. It's relatively near double his value. But are they going to re-release him? I don't know. Am I going to find him at 27? I don't know. Do I take a chance? Do I just get him now? Well, I'm here. I almost always buy something from this particular vendor. give me that Scarlet Spider-Man. He says, okay, takes it off the shelf, hands it to me. I get it in my hands. I start looking him over. Yeah, I don't regret that. I buy him. Sometimes I will pay the extra money to get a character that I absolutely know I want. And Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, is definitely a character that I want. We've discussed this once or twice. Kind of a Spider-Man putz. You give me a Spider-Man. It's a good one. It's affordable, especially if it's like in the Marvel Legends range. You don't have to try very hard. You just go, hey, look at that. This is Spider-Man over there. You see that? See a Spider-Man? And then I go, dang it. I do see that Spider-Man. And then I buy it. I have so many red and blue classic costume Spider-Man that it's almost a joke. It is the one character that I'm like this with, that I just keep getting them. I don't have 7 Hulks. I don't have 10 different things. I don't have 7 different Leonardos. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. But Spider-Man? Yeah. And when I was growing up, randomly, I, of course, was getting Spider-Man comics all the time. I was given a random Scarlet Spider comic. And I remember being like, oh, is this Spider-Man's new costume? And so I got that, I got it, right? I got the comic. Then I open it up and I start reading it, and I'm like, Ben Reilly? Who's this dude? And because comics work the way they do, they always assume that you're just now getting into comics. And so there's like a small little explanation at the start. Hey, Ben Reilly, clone of Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, clone? Wait. What? Then all of a sudden, and you got to understand, at the time, we weren't internet heavy or anything like that. At the time, if you didn't know a thing, it could be very tough to figure out a thing. All of a sudden, I knew that there was a clone of Spider-Man. His name was Ben Reilly. He was, and there was a possibility that he was actually Peter Parker. But the other one, the clone, may actually be living that life, and that he was just trying to deal with it. And then, all this information comes up, and I go, so when did all this happen? So now, I'm trying to track things down. And back then, it was a little harder than what it is today. I didn't just have random conventions every other month that I could just go to. I didn't have there was a comic book store. And they had a bunch of new stuff, not a bunch of old stuff. Like, it didn't work that way. You just didn't, it wasn't a guarantee. You would go and dig, and I would go in and they had all the boxes, and I'd dig through the Spider-Man stuff, and I'd be like, there's got to be something here. What am I missing? What is all this about? And then I start finding this Clone Saga stuff. Maximum clonage and all this other crap. And I'm trying to piece this together. And I'm like, here's something. Trial of Peter Parker. What's this about? Well, what's this here? Well, what's this? And then before I know it, I'm buying all these Spider-Man comics and trying to put them in order, but I've got all these gaps because comic books at the time were sold in the dumbest way possible. I don't care. I'm still saying that even today. In fact, it is the main reason that for the most part, I have completely dropped standard issue comic books across the board. Because back then, it was a problem, and today, it still is kind of a problem. It bites. It's not good. There was Spider-Man. There was the Amazing Spider-Man. There was the Spectacular Spider-Man. There was Web of Spider-Man. There was Spider-Man with a colon. Yeah, that was a thing. Just put a colon at the end of it. Then there was a Ben Reilly Spider-Man. Then there was the Scarlet Spider. And every one of these books, you would like start here in Amazing, and then it would say, hey, the next one is over here in Web. The next one is in Spectacular. The next one is in Spider-Man. And then also there's a series that's taking place called like Spider-Man Blue or Peter Parker's Spider-Man or Tales of, or Web Warriors. Or, After a while, especially back then when there was no like buying guide or whatever, sure, we had Wizard, which I loved Wizard Magazine. Maybe that's a topic for another time. I loved Wizard Magazine. But like even Wizard Magazine would very much admit, hey, this is a mess. Like, good luck. Here's a compendium of books. Good luck finding them. And you would just find all these books randomly, especially if you weren't like getting them in real time already. If you were like a casual, you didn't have a pull list, you would go to the comic book store once every 2 months or something, and like, you'd take your $50 or whatever you were able to get from mowing lawns or whatever, and you'd buy some comics. It was impossible to piece this together, to figure out what was going on. And graphic novels were not really a thing yet. So it was a nightmare to try to figure out what this was. I just knew that it was cool. It would be many years later before I would be able to buy completes or like find them in 50-cent bins and so on and so forth. And by that time, everybody was already like, this is like the worst thing that ever happened to Spider-Man clone sagas, blah, blah, blah. And to this day, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I have still not read all of this. I have read most of it, to the point where I'm actually interested in buying the Clone Series compendium thing just to finally say that I've read it all. Because it was a different time, guys. I'm an old guy. I'm 41. And the world was different. If you didn't know, you just didn't know. And chances are, the guy who was explaining it to you in the comic shop, he didn't really know either. But he sure wanted you to think he knew something and that he was important. Or he had very specific opinions that were going to come into his explanation. And all you were trying to do was get the story. But he wanted to tell you all about what Spider-Man was and how he felt about it and how long he read it and everything else. And I'm like, I'm moving on, bye. Like, it was a different time, guys. It really was. I can't see anything that would make me feel like this is not going to work. This guy has to be flawless. I mean, right? Let's open him. I don't see how I would be disappointed with this guy. I can't see it happening. Let's check it out. Okay. So, we got Scarlet Spider-Man. He comes with expression and or wall crawling hands. He comes with web shoot hands. he comes with punchy hands. Very, very, very easy. We got these pouches down here. I like these, actually, quite a bit. That's just a very easy little thing. We got the toe articulation, because spider toes. We got the boot movement. We got upper thigh swivel. Looks like these are drop-down hips. Not extreme drop-down hips, but drop-downs nonetheless. They're not like extreme, but they are there. We got this belt here, which is a floating part, which is cool. We got these right here, which have always been a really cool part. Also a floating part, by the way. These were always really cool, that he kept all his web stuff like on him, like on his wrists and everything. I always thought that was cool. He's very simple. He's just red. Eyes, dude. The eyes were always a really cool part of the Scarlet Spider. I thought that they stuck out, especially with the all-red suit. There was something about the way the eyes hit that were just really, really cool. I always thought that was cool. And this was a very simple thing, this weird little hoodie thing that he did, but, like, it worked. Now, one thing about the hoodie thing that's changed over the years. Nowadays, with the hoodie, they wear it. I've even seen a recent like in the recent comics, you know, with the Scarlet Spider and whatnot, when he does go back to this look sometimes, he'll put the hood up. I don't know why. I know it's a hoodie. I know that it has a hood. But since in the comic books that I had, he never ever put that hood up, I like never want him to. But the fact that it is a hoodie, it does bother me a little bit that on this it's a solid thing and it can't, like it does this, but like it doesn't, you can't put it on him. You get what I'm saying? I like the strings. I think that's cool. I love the spider. I think that's really cool. The hoodie thing was cool for the time. It's probably not considered all that cool nowadays, but for its time, it really did stand out. And it helped to break up all the red. It was a cool idea. I liked it a lot. But, for what it's worth, let's see. Very easy. Let's see here. How up will you look? Getting a little bit of, oh, that's weird. It's got like a gap right here. I don't think I love that. Like, he can look way up, but it's really awkward when he does. That might be the only thing that I don't love about this Spider-Man, but I'll just have to be careful about that. But he could tuck his legs way, way, way up. I'm not, of course, I don't have the right hand right now, but he can easily do this. We're not looking at solid butterflies, but I can get him to turn his hand in so that he can kind of get like that and then pull his arm back to maybe grab onto something or something like that. So we can easily get there. No trying at all. Spider-Man pose, right? If we can land a solid Spider-Man pose with no real effort in real time, that's a good Spider-Man. Personally, that's the way that I always look at it. If this would have taken me a while, if I would have played around with it and been like, nah, this doesn't, it's really hard to get him into a swing position or whatever, that's a problem. But if you can give very little effort and land a decent pose, then you could do solid effort and you can get something amazing. Like, it won't take much to play with the hands, change the hands out, put him on a stand or whatever, and get something really, really cool off of this guy, which I guess we should expect. He looks like, and I don't claim to be an expert here, he looks like he's built on the Renew Your Vows body. And if that's true, they almost couldn't have done better. The Renew Your Vows body is a very solid body, and it works for what it is. It works very much. It was my chosen Spider-Man for a very long time, and it's still one of my favorite Spider-Mans that I've ever bought. The Renew Your Vows Spider-Man is fantastic. So seeing this guy and seeing that he also is a standout, fantastic figure, not that surprised. That's a good Spider-Man. Finally, after so long, I have a Scarlet Spider for the shelf. This is one of those guys that I look at him and it kind of shocks me. Like, why didn't I have one of these a long time ago? Especially with the way I buy Spider-Man. It just kept escaping me. As weird as it is, that's the truth of it. It just kept escaping me. But here he is, finally, on the shelf, one of the best Spider-Man figures in Marvel Legends you can buy. I'm not kidding. I know that I just opened it and I haven't really done anything with it. But in that little small moment and like looking at the little things and seeing that this doesn't obstruct him, that's a big deal. He looks very simple, but he's everything he should be. The mask is perfect. It's perfect. Everything about this is fantastic. This is one of the best Marvel Legends Spider-Mans that they have released. Hands down, period. That would be an interesting video. Of the Spider-Men that I have, what are the best? I'll bet you I could get a top 5 list out of that. At the very minimum, I have enough Spider-Man figures. What are my personal best top 5 Spider-Man figures? That'd be interesting. Amongst many other things, too. I could do a lot of lists like that. I got to get some ideas for stuff like that. Some offhand videos that I can do. Like some, hey, what are the top 5 of these or top 10 of these or whatever. I think I could do some of those lists and it would work very well. But Spider-Man, Scarlet Spider, added to the shelf. Awesome. Will I ever get a Miles? I don't dislike Miles. That's not a thing with me at all. I think he's his own character, and I think he's solid. I really do. Most of the Miles costumes and figures I don't like. They either feel very lanky, which they should, but something about it feels awkward, or I just don't like the suit. I like the black and red suit that I've seen. Like, I think it's more or less the standard Miles suit. But I don't like when he wears tennis shoes. I don't care for that. I don't like him when he's like wearing shorts and a hoodie and like nothing about that appeals to me. I don't like him when he's in like the red and blue when he's more just like, just like Spider-Man. I don't care for that. I'm incredibly particular as to which Miles design I like. And personally, in terms of seeing a figure with my own eyes so far, they have not got me on one yet. That's not to say they won't. I just need the specific one. And it might already exist. I'm just saying that I haven't run into it personally yet. I could be at a convention soon, who knows, and I could see a Miles that finally says, that's it, that's the Miles right there. And then I would buy him for my shelf. I do intend to get one. But just like when I waited for a very long time to re-add Spider-Man to my shelf, because if you've been with this channel enough, 3 years ago I started recollecting Marvel Legends. I'd been out of it for a very long time. And I only had one Spider-Man, a black suit Spider-Man, and that was it. And I kept saying, I want one for the shelf. One specific for the shelf. And until I get that one, I'm not touching anything else. That's kind of where I am with Miles. The one needs to speak to me, and then we'll go from there. Do you trust Mattel with the DC license this time around? I don't know. I don't know because of what I've seen with Motu. That scares me. To see how quickly they'll cut cost corners. And how quick they are to, like... I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is important, and I'm being very serious. You can judge the quality of a line off their female figures. Because oftentimes, figures will let the female figures be crap because they're under the impression that either one, they won't sell, or two, it won't matter. Just make them passable. If you look at like Marvel Legends, when they do a good female figure, everybody wants it. Because it's not just because, ooh, pretty girls. No, that's not the case. I'm being very serious. The reason they want that, and the reason the fans jump on it when it's a good female figure, is because they're so rare. The female figures in Marvel Legends, 9 out of 10 times, are crap. They're built on like 10-year-old bucks. They barely move. They look like something happened to their spine. Like they're just always, I'm ready to fight. Like they can't take poses. Spider-Gwen is terrible. I have 2 very good looking Spider-Gwens that can't do swing effects because they have no lower movement. And the upper movement is so stiff, they got about this. There, I'm ready to swing. I'm swinging. That's terrible. They turn about like this. I got some turn on me. Their entire lower body is completely useless. They're all legs and arms. And then half the time with the arms, for the longest time, we were getting... Stop. I got the 90-degree arms. I got the no bicep swivels at all. I got this... lady. That's it. They're terrible figures. So when they released the Black Widow and everybody went crazy for her, you know why? It wasn't because this Black Widow specifically was Black Widow and it was one of the best figures that they'd ever done. It was finally what we've been asking for the last decade. A solid, put time into it, female buck. We finally got it. And now we're starting to get it here and there. It's slow, but it's happening. We're starting to see it more and more often. We got it for 2 Black Widows now. We got it for the Phoenix. We got it for Psylocke. But then we're getting characters mixed in that aren't getting it. We got Storm recently. She has no lower torso. We got her, but she didn't get an upper torso. She just got this lower ball joint thing. She's passable, but she's not really a super solid figure. We got Marrow. And the big thing with Marrow is she takes a lot of stances like she's a Spider-Man, but she can't because her lower torso doesn't move. Oftentimes, the female figures of a line are behind the time of whatever it is that's being produced. Almost all the time. And we're seeing it constantly. And then, if they do go out of their way to guarantee that the males and females are on the same level of sculpt and detail, oftentimes, they'll take the female line and they'll drop it at some point and make it worse. We're seeing that right now with Mattel for Motu. And from what I understand, this has actually happened in a couple of wrestling figure releases. That some of the girls tend to look way worse than some of the guys, to the point where I've actually heard time and time again from YouTubers that actually are into the real wrestling figures and whatnot, from Mattel, they will say, why would you do her like that? That's a good question. Oftentimes, if you want to know the quality of a line, look at the female figures. because that'll tell you how low they're willing to make it go. Like, how much are they willing to cheap out? Check the female figure. If the female figure is miraculous, if it's really, really good, then you better buckle up, because that whole line is probably promising to be... If they're cheaping out on the girls, you better believe that they're fully ready to cheap out on the guys too. You better believe it. They'll do it. They don't care. They're showing you. They're showing you the quality can be dipped whenever we want. This is pretty much this. We're willing to accept this standard with our figures if you're willing to keep buying them. So yeah, that's how I feel about about Mattel getting the DC license. Is what scares me is I've already watched multiple lines they are running drop the quality in the female scales. And there's a lot of DC females. A lot of them. DC is one of those groups that we have a lot of female figures that need to be solid figures to complete a DC line. Not, hey, Superman looks really good. Wonder Woman can't move. Not acceptable. Not acceptable. They better get this right. I do have my concerns. I'm very much waiting to see their prototypes. The Clone Saga, that reminds me, you ever get the Jackal and Kane? And when I mean Kane in his Jackies. Okay, no, I did not. I did not get Kane. I've seen him multiple times. I can get him. I never gave a crap about Kane. I just never did. Maybe, given time, I will. But as it stands, I haven't really ever given too much a crap about Kane. And I don't feel like I'm going to anytime soon. The Jackal would be cool. But I'm not in any rush. Maybe that's bad because I'll end up in the same position as I often do, where I have to just kind of like wait for them to do him again, but we'll see. Who was the clone? I remember it went back and forth for a while, but the Peter Parker turned out to be the Peter Parker. But then there was also the thing that they were throwing in for a while where they found a dead Peter Parker and that he could have possibly been the real one that then died, and then clones came out. It was a mess. I still have not actually read all of it. I remember it being a mess. I remember seeing him first in Spider-Man the Animated Series. I think that was the second time I seen him, because when I seen him in the animated series, I knew who he was. I was like, oh crap, I know him, because I had the Scarlet Spider book. A Monday unboxing? This is going to be what it is now. We had to change the time. I was waiting for Wednesday, so I didn't even check the channel. It's we're figuring life out. That's what I can tell you. I'm not feeling great. We're actually about to end because I'm starting to notice I'm getting raspy and I'm having to drink a lot more. But I didn't expect to get this far. I was going to be surprised if I was going to get an hour. But we had some decent conversations and everything while I was able to handle it. Hopefully next week when I come in Monday, this is all past and we get right back down to business, but we'll see. I enjoyed my Halloween this year. I went in full costume again. I was Freddy. I had my mask, my hat. I had the sweater, the pants. I was in full gear, my glove and everything. I chased a couple kids. That was funny. But yeah, I had a really good one. I still wish it was way better than it was. We probably had 20, 24, 25, somewhere in there. It was better than the 14 that we had. Because like the year before this one, we had 14. I counted them. And then this time we had in the 20s. Me and my kid were here. this time. So she was like a dinosaur and she was running around the yard and stuff like that. And then I was up on the porch. But we had a good time for what it was worth. We really did. I really wish that Halloween would pick itself up. I don't like that all the trunk or treats and everything have literally destroyed the holiday. But what can we do? I'm sorry to hear that, man. I really am. And I'm also sorry to see that you have to be jealous of Halloween. Because I love Halloween, and I wish everybody could have it. And I wish it was more so. I do wish it was not a dying holiday, but it very much is. I have this bad feeling that 2 more generations and it will be an unrecognizable holiday. I really do believe that. Well, if there's any benefit to the comment that you're making, it's kind of over here basically considered that at this point too. I mean, realistically, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, Halloween virtually non-existent, no trick or treat. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's very close to just being a straight up dead holiday. But I've done what I can do. This is getting worse. I've definitely got to go and do some cough drops and drink some more water and whatnot. But thanks for hanging out. This is going to be a regular thing. We're going to be on Mondays now while my wife is in the Madrigals. And then, to be fair, depending on how this works out, this might just be our regular thing. Is we might just get, hey, start of the week, let's talk toys, let's open toys, and let's see if we can make our week more manageable. And we'll see. But I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys later, guys. Take it easy. And yeah, that's exactly why we're getting off, because I'm getting worse. I can feel it. So thanks for hanging out, and I'll get better. Take it easy, guys.